All right, guys. Come back to you, episode 9. We got a very special guest, a good friend of mine, someone I very much look up to coming on. He'll be here in a moment. I'll wait to give the introduction until he gets in here, but really excited. Been really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and we can give a brief introduction. He's
Yeah.
involved in the world of duck hunting pretty heavily, and I think
Yes.
it's cool for us to be able to cross platforms and cross groups and interests like this. It allows you to hear stories from people from different backgrounds and really get to know what a person's all about. And in knowing people is what you know why they have the passion for what they do. And I think passions have so much crossover. It's just finding what you're passionate about that's so important in life. So whether it is paintball or duck hunting or something else, it's hearing those stories and hearing them from people that are figureheads in their perspective career paths. That's I think the most fun thing about this for me.
Yeah, I'm just excited to share him with you, and here he is. All right, let's get him in here. There he is. My brother, Billy Campbell.
Nice shirt, dog.
Dude, it's from the best.
He's all decked out in your stuff,
I'm always, and to give like just an explanation, I'm always either wearing Dr. Duck or Defy the Norm. It's always that. So
I like
it.
I get it.
But it's a pleasure, to meet you. I've heard nothing but good things about you from Hal, so I know he wants to introduce you here, but I do want to say that I'm looking forward to this conversation and getting to know more about you as well.
Thank you. Likewise, Ryan. Hal said good things about you as well and was excited about us getting together for this conversation. So very thankful for the opportunity to jump on here with you guys and chat it up, man.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, just having good conversations with good people. And that's the only way you can really find, what someone's truly all about and
right.
grow those connections. So I'm excited about it, but why don't you fire up a nice introduction, Hal?
All right, everybody. So on episode 9, we have no one other than the great Billy Campbell. He's an avid waterfowler, and he's made his passions his success, and he does this for a living now. So I think it's a great experience for everyone to get to take some knowledge from Billy and learn that even though passions may be different, it's all the same route and how we gain success too. Just beyond blessed. I very similar to how I came about with Houston Heat. Formed a relationship over social media, and then our friendship has grown. Billy is just someone that is actually a full inspiration of why I wanted to start a podcast. So give him his flowers. He has just been nothing but a great, amazing person that I look up to at the same level as my dad. Just a phenomenal human being. And Billy, welcome.
Thank you. I think that's just a nice way of saying I'm old, isn't it, Hal?
Not at all. You have more spry than me. I've seen you in the duck hole.
Well, I'm very thankful for the kind words. You use a lot of big words. But I am thankful for that. And again, it's an honor to be here with you guys. And yeah, I mean, how long you been doing this podcast now?
Episode 9. We started in late March?
Yeah, right at the end of March.
Yeah.
I mean, you're by me, bro. I mean, y'all got the video thing here, and I mean, this is nice.
Yeah. Luckily, we had a few friends who've done podcasts and stuff and led us in the right direction from the start. So we're still have a ton to learn and a ton to grow within. But having the right platforms to start with has helped out a ton. Made the transition easier for two people that aren't super technologically advanced.
Trust me, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah,
I was never that. I would listen to podcasts occasionally, but ours has been going on for close to 10 years now, and 7 or 8 years. And it was just something that other people wanted, and that wasn't our wheelhouse, wasn't something I was familiar with. And I started trying to listen and there weren't really any podcasts at the time. I mean, it's only 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But you look at it now, there are tons of duck hunting podcasts.
Yeah.
There were only 2 or 3 at the time, and none of them really talked about public land hunting, which is, pretty much most of what we do. So definitely a learning curve for us as well. I mean, I would say I got a message just last week that said I'm finally getting pretty decent at interviewing people, and it's been 8 years. So,
Yeah,
man.
I was always skeptical to get into it as well because, part of me inside thought like, stories that you're talking with your friends like should stay that way, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, that is kind of a greedy aspect of it, because the people that could learn a lot from it, or who want to follow your path in some sort of way or get involved in the thing you like to hear your passion, it can grow it. So even if it takes a little away from you in the moment, it gives so much out to other people. So I think that's amazing. You've been doing it for 10 years, the podcast, the whole situation has changed so much in that amount of time. Like you said, now there's probably, hundreds of thousands of podcasts in general, if not millions. From back then, it was hard to find anything.
It's so nuts, but man, I appreciate your perspective on that. Yeah, I think you nailed it. And it is a tough road to go down, especially when you talk about public land hunting. There's so many people that don't want you talking about. They don't want more people out there. But at the end of the day, and I know this from Hal and what he told me about you and what you guys are doing, really at the end of the day, if we're not having impact on others, why are we even here? So taking those conversations, allowing other people to get involved with them, I think is it's great. And look, people can hit the play button or not, right?
Yep. But it's there if they want it.
That's right. That's right.
I think one thing you touched on, and that you're so involved with the public land hunting, I think it's kind of important to note that it's easy for people to be greedy with that because they want to hide their secrets and do that. But like the more that we can share, the more we can grow and find new ways to like really enjoy something. And like I think like one of the best things about the United States is our access to public land. I mean, it's far greater than any other country I've ever been to. And I've been all around the world, but just having, the ability to not only culturally from the beginning of our country, grow up in like, in a culture that really supported hunting and grew from that, to a culture that, protected, hundreds of millions of acres to allow us to do that on. So to be selfish with something that was meant to be enjoyed by the masses is a shame.
Great point. Great point.
So, but yeah, I mean, that was I want to touch on that topic. Like, y'all have been so involved with public land, and if you're a hunter and you're listening to this podcast, good and well, the more that's being built around the U.S., the more we're losing, and we get less public lands. Now, I feel like we're getting some of those accesses back. I feel like a lot of states are realizing that we're losing those things, and that we need to preserve this. Everything can't be a metropolis. Like, you can't just build it up all concrete. So I feel like, that's a great thing that's coming about. I know our state, we're ending up buying a little more land from ranches and stuff like that. But,
it is nice that we're protecting land, though, on multiple levels, right?
Yeah.
Nationally, there's protected land. The states protect lands. Inside of that, counties do. So you're right. Like, people try to claw it back. That's capitalism and that's greed. What's good about capitalism? There's always going to be something bad that comes with it, and that's part of it. But when you talk about population density, like the whole world's population could fit inside of Texas with like the same population density as Tokyo. So like there's land to go around. There's land to do this. So it's a shame when they try to get rid of like the best lands for certain things to, for greedy purposes.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think there are states that are recognizing that, but we've been kind of last few podcasts I've had really kind of revolving around us losing access. I've tried to get on my podcast people that are familiar with the Utah and Nevada land sales. I'm sure you heard about that.
Yep.
that's not my wheelhouse. And
Right.
you know, we all have a perspective, right? But I try to get people who know more about it to share some insight. And I've not been able to get any of those people to call me back that are involved with what's going on there. I have had several conversations with folks. You know, the out of state deal is a something that a lot of people support because of the crowding, what they feel like is crowding on public lands, and that's a whole nother conversation. But
yeah,
you know, for me, I'm gonna dumb this down. You guys are gonna know what I'm talking about, but
okay.
From the time I was young and how I brought up my kids, a duck hunt. A duck hunt was us setting aside a weekend, finding birds on public land, and accessing those birds.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guarantee those birds are going to be there when we go back. Y'all know that, right? It's not killing.
Right.
It's putting yourself in the best position that hopefully you're in.
Right. You do your homework. You do your homework, and you show up and you hunt. So the big deal when we talk about public land really is the access.
Yep.
So the quality of the journey, the whole thing we're setting out to do is to have the opportunity to be there where we found the birds. So over the last 10, 15 years, a lot of states have limited our access to lands to find the birds.
Yep.
So you could still show up and have access, but we're not going to let you out here to find them. And I get it. They don't want people tromping out there running the birds off. That's grown the last few years, several years with Arkansas. You saw them trying to do it in Kansas. They're fixing to do it in Oklahoma.
Yep.
They've done it for several years in South Dakota already.
Yep.
They're making this determination where they're really redefining a quality hunt. And so they've decided they want people not to have the duck hunt as I defined it. They want people to come out and have really like a private land experience where they're going to guarantee them success or the best they can, not competing against others. And in order for them to do that, they've come to the conclusion they need to limit access to these properties that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so where this thing is headed, I mean, maybe I'm playing the real deep into that deal, but the way I see it, if we don't all get involved and stop this current progression of limiting access, and right now it's out of staters, but as I say that, Texas, I know Missouri, there are states that have properties that are draw only for in-state or out-of-state. They don't care.
Yep.
So you limit it to a lottery system on whether or not you even are provided that opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you remove that opportunity from out-of-state guys. So, you know, a 60-day season in my neighboring state, Arkansas, I pay, I don't know how much. I mean, you know, a local guy's going to pay less than $100 to hunt everything over there all season long. If I want to hunt just half the season over there, historically, they've told me what days I can go, and they charge me, you know, upwards over $700 to do that.
Yeah.
So my only point there is, while these lands are available in our country and some states are recognizing the importance of those lands and trying to make those available, when it comes to duck hunting, because of them redefining a quality hunt, which how I know you feel the same way, for us, it's just being there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can avoid other people. We can go other places. We can get on down the road. We just want to make sure that we have those days available to us, that we can go and access these great properties that use federal funding. Yep. And even though they're owned by the state, they're still federally funded.
Yeah, and having that time and tranquility, it's almost like a meditation time for you. So if you're just doing it down to the success rate, it ruins the whole point of the process.
And I don't mean to go down a rabbit hole with it, but
you're good.
But to your point, while some states do recognize that, I do believe that if if we don't communicate through podcasts like this and through other hunters that we come in contact with, and especially right now through our government, that we don't believe that's the way to go. I really think 10 years from now, we're going to see a significant change in that access for us to go and hunt ducks.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, which is why I think it's important to fight for, any right to not to not be taken away. Because the more they claw off and shred off little pieces of it, it's so much harder to get that back than it is to prevent them from ever taking it in the first place. So yeah, you should have, it was made for the purpose of people enjoying. Let people continue to enjoy it that way. Quit redefining what enjoyment is of something, and let the market dictate that.
Right.
Well, I think it's on top of all that, it's a sham what they do to out of staters. I know I work behind the gun counter. I sell licenses. I see what people pay for an out of state moose tag, and it's on the upper of $2,000 to go hopefully have a chance. That's a sham. That is a joke. And like when I went to Arkansas, like you blessed me with the opportunity to come hunt with y'all in January.
Videos of that were pretty fantastic too. That was quite the scenic hunt.
It was a little chilly.
It looked chilly, but watching it on a screen wasn't so chilly, It's like when I play paintball in like downpouring rain, it looks awful, but watching the videos after is pretty fun.
I kind of had a moment because I got that first out of stater hit, right? Like I got that first time, like, oh, you hitting me with the payment because I paid for 3 days. What was it, like $145 out of Arkansas?
Oh yeah.
Like I was like for 3 days. For 3 days. For 3 days. Not even an annual license. It was 3 days, 140 something bucks. And I kind of choked on myself. I was like,
yeah.
But I think that's a sham.
It is.
We were born in this country. Now, do I think it for an out-of-stater, it should be a little more? Maybe, sure. Like, I mean, elk tags, this will tell you how much the joke is. Elk tags in Colorado for a resident, I can get an elk tag for $58. No, I apologize, $63. It went up. $63 to get a bull tag. For an out-of-stater, they're charging upwards of $700, $800. Why? The question is why? Because you don't live here? I'm sorry if you're out of state, here's the deal. You're likely of your success rate is not as high as an in-stater.
For sure.
$200, sure. Go out there and wander in the woods. That's worth a shot. But it's just wild what it's come to and how we're treating people from out of state. And I think that as a hunter, I know Billy, you feel the same. You feel that hard because you hunt out of state quite a bit, so that hits your wallet just as much as more than me.
Oh yeah. I mean, most years we'll hunt 7, 8, 9 different states.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you guys completely, but it is interesting because we grew up in the only time where travel was this accessible, right?
That's right.
So if you're limiting it, it because the amount of game in the area, there's only so much that can go around. I'm not sure that that's always the case, but it makes sense that if you can have, a country of 330 million people plus all be able to travel somewhere, it's harder than, 80 years ago, you were probably not leaving 50 miles of your town. So it really was reserved for the people that were close. So I agree with giving locals like a discount in there. Like you said, it's absorbent at what they're doing to out-of-staters. So there's a fine line. And I think some of the, cost to you could even justify if, you knew what percentage of it was going back to conservation and to making those situations better. But all that's so murky and so unclear that's what makes it uneasy feeling. It just feels like you're giving more money to bureaucracy when it's kind of 100%. Redundant and unnecessary.
Yeah, because state funding, and I know Billy can probably feel the same way about this. I don't want to speak on his behalf, though. But like, the federal duck stamp, you can charge me whatever for that because that goes back into those ducks. I appreciate that because I know that funding is going correctly. To Colorado, no offense, screw them because their funding is going to all different kinds of crap and it ain't towards my agenda as a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talked about this today as a hunter, hunters are the best conservationists. Those are the people out there putting in the work, doing the time. And I'm not saying certain game wardens, the old green jeans, that they don't have that opportunity to be there because the game wardens are, but it's the people above them that are making all the decisions of where to foot the bill, where to move the money. And I don't, Colorado, I'm skeptical on because they just have a totally different agenda than my morals. So,
and I think that's gotten lost with us along the way as well. I always refer when we talk about public land. Dennis and I've had this conversation a lot. We go back even, because the outdoors is such a great part of our life, right? With our families and with my kids, and it is just being outside is a way of life.
amen.
I can remember the early days of having kids when you had that invitation to be on the school board.
Yep.
And people would get involved, and that was a big deal to be involved on your school board. You had a lot of input. You helped the schools make the decisions that were eventually obviously reflected on your kids, what kind of environments they were in, and so forth. You saw private schools come about, women going into the workforce, and then now you got, working homes, both parents work.
Yep.
A lot of people feel like, well, I don't really have time to do that. You get a big push on people pulling their kids out of public. What happened, a lot of the people that didn't get involved and saw the changes that were happening in public schools, they just removed their kids from that atmosphere and put them in private schools.
Yep.
Yeah. And that just hurts the people without the means to do that. Now they're swallowed up in a bigger pool of people without like-minded morals.
That's exactly right. And I just say that because when we concede to the fact that whether it's Colorado with you, Texas for me, and even a neighboring state, those guys, whether it's Fish and Game or our politicians, they work for us.
Yep.
And it's our voice that should be reflected. But that gets back to us being on the same page. If we as public land guys, outdoorsmen in general, can't get along in this crazy world we live in today, coming up with that direction is going to be difficult.
And it's important to realize, like, you don't have to agree with someone on everything to get along with them and to see their point, And I think that, like, too many people throw that away with the bathwater, They just don't think about that anymore. It's like, if you're not full-fledged in with me, then you're against me. But that's not how you, like, come to terms with things or solve things. And to your point about the school boards, you're right. You can affect things like that. It's the same in local politics. I mean, a lot of these votes are getting won by 10 votes. It's something ridiculous. And the amount more say that you have to push or keep, things moving in the directions that you want it to is kind of incredible. So it's like, sometimes it's selfish to, people have less time and you want to spend your time doing the things you love. But sometimes, just giving up a little bit of that time to another cause allows so many more people to then spend their time continuing doing what you love.
All great points. And I think it's my understanding a lot of that bill with the land sale deal had a pretty massive setback with the amount of people that reached out once kind of the word got out.
Yeah.
Yep.
We should really be involved before it gets to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because then they would never consider doing it in the first place because they don't want to, bother that many people or cause that much turbulence.
Mm-hmm.
and with today's ability to share information, and I do think some states are, as much as we ramble on, Dennis and I, about Arkansas and the things they've done to oozers over there, they have done a much better job the last several years of putting polls out and trying to get people involved. But then again, it falls back on those families. That's right. It falls back on us. Are we getting involved?
I think it's important for people to show appreciation of the improvements too, no matter how small they are, to let people know that like that work that they've done like is appreciated, so that they keep doing it. Because if they start making these changes and they're just not getting complained to as much, that's not really like the positive reinforcement they need to keep going.
It's crazy times we live in, brothers.
Always. They don't get less crazy. They don't get less crazy.
No, you're right.
Speaking of which, I want to bring up the fact, do you still have that petition running, Billy, on Dr. Duck?
I do. You know, I messed that deal up. We all mentioned not being very technologically advanced. When I launched that thing, I had such a huge initial response, thousands.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was so big that it broke my deal.
Yeah.
So I had to go back, figure out a new way to do it, and do it a different way and kind of start over. So I haven't had that big kick that I had when I initially did, because everybody's thinking, even though you say it, they're thinking, well, I've already done that.
Or they might just not have seen that. You know, they saw your initial thing, got the interest, but now they're like, I already did that. They don't see the update that they need to do it again, or, you know, it just doesn't get shown to them again. So it is important to get that in front of people's eyes again, because I think that's a great petition that you're on it.
Yeah, he looked it up today, or a few days ago. But can I implore any of our followers? I know most of y'all probably aren't waterfowl hunters, but it's a good cause, Billy. The cause is on possession limit. And what that means for us is, so Billy travels like last year. Billy came up, hunted 3 days with me in Colorado and my buddy, and Dennis came up as well. And then y'all went into Canada. How many days did you hunt in Canada? Was it 5?
7, I think.
7.
5, it may have been 5. 5
to 7 days. The limitation when you're traveling, and I was kind of talking to Ryan about this earlier, the limitations that we have as hunters is 3 days is all we can keep of our limit. So that is a horrible thing for us, because when we're traveling,
that's
on us in person. If Dennis and Billy killed their limit in 3 days, they couldn't keep no more ducks.
Well, it's not even just on you, Hal. I mean, like,
it's technically. Go ahead.
You visited the cabin. We have a place we frequent.
Yes, sir.
Have for years. So
yes,
Dennis blessed us. He come up with the opportunity to buy a cabin there. And even if we go over there for more than 3 days, we can't have more than that at that cabin.
Right. And you're residing there.
Right. But it's not your primary. And then by letter of the law, really, it's up to the game where I'm still not sure if I can even have it in my freezer at home.
No, that's wild.
It's a federally managed, waterfowl. It's a whole different, but at the end, it's all common sense to me. You're going to allow me to hunt, just say 60 days a year.
Yep.
And I could legally shoot 6 birds all 60 days. Yep. I can do that legally. What is that? 360 ducks?
Yeah, something around there. Yeah.
But so I can legally harvest 360 birds, but I can't have them in my possession.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes no sense to me. And I've asked game wardens, I've asked, so your solution, we're traveling, we're going to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
if the game warden walks up, this is what the game warden told me. If he walks up and I have removed the head and the wing, which I have to do to get that bird in the oven, but I haven't yet got that bird in the oven, and he can't identify it, he can write me a ticket.
That's wild.
100%. It's dumb.
That's a big ticket.
And it's not. Yeah, and people don't realize hunting infractions and fishing infractions are just the same as speeding infractions or traffic violations. It goes against you buying a fishing or hunting license the next year.
That's
you get
right.
so many infractions in a certain amount of time just as you drive it.
Yeah.
But for something,
people don't also realize how much power game wardens have. Like
they can go into your house. They don't have to have a search warrant. They can have probable cause. And I'm not speaking mean against the green jeans, but I'm just saying that you were 100% correct. They have more power than a law enforcement officer, a police
in my
officer,
opinion, it's
sheriff.
in my opinion, it's an unconstitutional amount of power that they wield. I'm not saying that it's always for bad reasons, but it does seem insane.
Yeah, I know a lot of great game wardens that
sure.
that would, and I know you guys do too. And
those are the ones that aren't abusing their power. They're just doing the right normal.
I know a lot of them that themselves don't see common sense in that law, but they're there to police that law, so I mean they have a job to do. They don't write the law. But we go back to what we're talking about. Look, it's our voice. These guys work for us. And if it were up to me, the possession law would go away entirely. If close the business, sun goes down, end the shooting light. If I have done something illegal, I need to have been caught doing it. You can't. I don't think it's proper to say, well, at your house or at your cabin, you've got 5 days, so you must have shot over your limit. So we're going to write you a ticket. That just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree with you, especially in your house. If you're not in your house, just to play devil's advocate, what do you think steps that they could make to like mitigate the effect of bad actors, right? Like someone who will overhunt their limits and just say like, oh, that was from, a different day, things like that. If you can have them, while you're traveling in cars and vehicles.
So,
or do you just think that wouldn't happen enough to make it matter?
What if I go out one day and shoot 18 ducks and I'm driving home with them?
No, I like I said, I agree with you. But
that's legal. By letter of the law, if I got pulled over and I just told them, here, they're split up, they're these 3 days, you're going to have cheaters.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. There is no way you ask how to mitigate it. You can't. You're going to have cheaters. The only way to stop a cheater is to catch him cheating.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of that's on the community to call each other out and police each themselves, right? Because if an area is getting overhunted, if someone's taking advantage of rules, like the communities it's their responsibility to make sure that that's okay. Because I agree with you. You can't stop people from, making bad decisions and acting in their self-interest. You can't. No. But if the number isn't enough to justify hurting the 99%, then you shouldn't worry about it.
Right. You have 1% people that are unlawful, right? So you're going to punish everybody else. It don't make sense. Maybe be more due diligent and catch those people that are cheaters and figure it out. But like, I hope this is okay to say, Dennis, Dr. Duck, Dennis Luzier is known as Dr. Duck. Billy Campbell here is known as the Fowl Hunter. They've been hunting a long time together. The most upstanding, law-abiding hunters, citizens you will ever meet. I've seen it. These guys are honest and true through and through, which I will say most duck hunters or hunters in general are honest, law-abiding citizens, right? And y'all had a false investigation upon y'all for how many years was that?
2 years.
2 years. It was a 2-year investigation, and y'all didn't even know about it for how long? Year and a half or more?
2 years.
For 2 years until.
It was a federal investigation. We had no idea. I had no idea.
And it was because people were upset that y'all were making limits every day. Honestly, am I correct in that? Is that correct?
Essentially, I mean, the story. This is coming from the guy who was over the investigation that told me this, but he knew we worked very hard for ducks, and we were in another state in his area, and they were going through a little tough time. We had come through, done some scouting, and we found a lot of birds. And we shot birds, and not everybody else was shooting birds. And I think we were there for 3 or 4 days, and about that third or fourth, everybody was saying they're baiting. They got to be baiting. They're definitely baiting. There's no way. And like that third or fourth day, when we got back to boat ramp, there was not a lot of people that had any birds at all. And again, we shot birds.
Yep. And
you try to share with people that it's not going to happen all the time, but your odds of success in they improve greatly if, like you mentioned earlier, Ryan, if you do your homework and you put the work in.
Yeah.
Versus some guys that may be in that area who are showing up the same spots and just taking chances every day. So anyway, that third or fourth day, a game warden said, well, maybe there is something to this. And they launched he got federal game wardens involved, and I didn't believe it.
No. How could you?
Man, this guy, he's like, you docked out here at this time, here at this time. I'm like, I was by myself. I didn't see another vehicle on the road. It was 2 a.m. There's no way you were here. I mean, I'm kind of an astute. I'm always paying attention to what's going on around me. I think outdoorsmen in general are like that. But
yes,
he told me he was in a ghillie suit on the riverbank across from where I docked my boat. And I mean, he knew spots we were hunting in. They connected everybody we connected with on social. Hal, I'm sorry. They may have looked into you. Everybody that we had tagged or shared time with, or I mean, it was they did it for 2 years, and he told me he got out his book and he said, Billy, I just want you to know, in almost 2 years, 2 seasons of following you and Dennis around, there's only one thing I could write you a ticket for. And I'm like, for what?
What the hell's that?
He said, you're not allowed to film in the state of Oklahoma without a filming permit. I said, that's inaccurate, because the Arkansas and Missouri at the time were the only 2 states we frequented that required any kind of filming permits.
Right.
And he said, no, and he looked at it, and then he's got about halfway through. He said, you're right. And he shut it. He put it back in his truck. He said, there's nothing I could get you on. I mean, and I appreciate your kind words, Hal, but you're well aware the regulations will drive you batty, especially when you go to different states, and you have to pay attention to those. And we can mess up. Anybody can mess up, but we try very hard. I mean, where you can and can't be on public ground. I mean, there's just a whole slew of stuff you got to pay attention to. And we've been doing this together for over 30 years. So, you kind of, things always evolve and change, but you do pay attention to that. And we want to do things the right way. Thank you for saying that. But it blew my mind. And then I kind of got angry because I thought, well, there go our conservation dollars chasing us around for 2 years because some angry local guy got mad because we were killing ducks and he wasn't.
And they couldn't have figured that out in 3 months, what your guys' intentions are,
Yeah, took 2 seasons.
And the other thing is just the pure arrogance for someone to, falsely accuse you guys because of your success. is just, it bewilders me. It's just to assume that like because they're failing where you're succeeding. It's like everyone has, different thought processes and ways to make things work, different expertise in areas. To think that someone's succeeding, that they must be cheating, is such a flawed view of the world. You should always think of, well, what could you do better? Like, how could I network with these people to talk with them about what they're seeing? Because they're not always going to be here. And if they can help me, if I live around here, that's great. That's only like a net positive for me. So just to instantly go into a false accusation that then just runs the course of time of wasted, conservation dollars for 2 years, as well as being under the spotlight when, you expected some sort of privacy in those acts and not someone in a ghillie suit, crawling down a riverbank watching you.
I was just thinking back over, man, trying to think back. I hope I didn't say anything bad about any game wardens while we were out there hunting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, game wardens, I've met some bad ones. I grew up with
how they got a tough gig.
They got a horrible gig.
I mean, it ain't like walking up to somebody's car when you're pulling them over.
No.
Everybody that you deal with is going to have a loaded gun in their hand.
They got a loaded gun. Their gun. So I've been offered a job as a policeman. I said, no, I don't want your job.
Right.
And that is people, you got a 50-50 shot. That person's armed or not. One or the other. Game warden, you're dealing with people. Those people are loaded to bear. And they're
all rednecks.
Yeah, but the difference is, why they're loaded. They're probably not robbing a bank. They're probably not doing something out there.
It's still loaded.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So,
but I trust, someone with knowledge around a loaded weapon all day long, as opposed to someone who has no idea what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I do agree with you. Like, every situation has the opportunity to escalate, and that's an issue. But which is why it's important to, be reasonable, approach people kindly, not assuming that they're up to nefarious actions. And, it's all when you have like good conversations with people and you're not accusatory right away, then people are more willing to be like kind back to you and show that.
Yeah. And I've met some game wardens who have tried to throttle their power. And I've told them, I'm like, dude, you're a bad egg. I'm like, I ain't done nothing wrong. As a guide, you're under the microscope. So I used to guide and hunting and fishing. You're under a microscope a lot harder. Right. They're looking for you to pull your guide permit. Right. How can I pull their guide permits? And I've met a few of them.
Why do you think they want to do that though? Like,
dude, I don't know.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. But the state of Colorado hasn't issued a guiding permit since 1986.
Well, at least you guys require them. Texas, that's a conversation we're having here in Texas right now. I mean, why is public land crowded?
Yeah.
2 reasons. One, you can't go down to Mr. Johnson's farm anymore and get permission. Well, really, I guess one reason. Why can't you get permission? Well, obviously times are changing a little bit, but 9 times out of 10, if you're in a good hunting area, that property has probably been approached by an outfitter or a guide, and they wanted to lease it up, right?
Yep. And probably a lot of the smaller farms have probably been bought up by bigger corporation farms that don't give you the same rights. Like, you don't have that, face-to-face meeting with someone and to ask them anymore. You just can't do that as much.
I mean, most landowners have either had a bad experience if they're not allowing you permission. They've either had a bad experience or it's an outfit that has jumped on it already. And, Texas is dealing with that now. The crane hunting in West Texas has gone so crazy that, I mean, you've got so many outfitters, and I've got friends that are, solid outfitters, and they're on that bus of wanting some kind of permitting educational process in place.
Yes.
That way you just know, as me or you, a regular, any of us just want to go get an outfitter, we know we're getting somebody that knows what they're doing. They're educated, they're knowledgeable, they're licensed, and we know we can trust them, and not somebody you're handing your money over to that's just, so anyway, yeah, at least y'all are requiring permits, Hal.
Yeah. It just would be great if there was a situation where, you could license knowledgeable people without limiting who you're licensing.
Right.
Well, and like you say, hey, you want a permit? You need to go do a guide school. You need to go learn how to be respectful, learn how to take care of the land, how to be a conservationist. Like, those are things that should be, like, I'm okay with if you require that for a guide permit. But
I am to an extent, but I feel like a lot of that has been passed down generation to generation. To say that this person has the right to tell you that you have that knowledge is tricky too.
Well, it is, but pardon me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot, and I think Billy can attest for this. There's a lot of people that think they have the influence to gain clientele. Like, if you hunt a bunch of private land, I know Billy knows a lot of people on social media just see a bunch of pile picks, ducks, birds to the tins, like they're all stacked up. And they're hunting private land. Now, that's great and all. Like, I get it. You hunt private land. Like, there's a whole thing to that. But, you got to learn the respect in the nature of what you're doing to go do this. And if you're an influencer trying to start a guide service, you didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
You started off as a prophet. You want to start as a prophet. Now, that's just my hot take. Call it as it is.
Regardless of the means to get there, I think you make a really good point, Hal, which is, it's like the chicken or the egg, right?
Yes.
And I do. I would have to say it's pretty obvious that there are a lot of people that see what's going on, like in West Texas with the crane hunting, the explosion, and saying, you know what, we're going to get out there and make some money.
Yeah.
Let's go make some money.
Yeah, and that all comes down to, social media too. It's not just a snapshot of reality. It's the skewed aspect that someone wants to show you. So yeah, they're only showing the successes and that, and then it makes people interested. Like they're always 100% successful. Where, like we talked about before, it's the journey to get there. There's a lot of failures that come with every success.
Enjoy the journey.
That's right. That's right.
So I'll tell you this, and Billy, I don't know. I know you know how much I genuinely appreciate that trip to Arkansas. That was beyond a lifetime trip for me. And you have a fair sense of who I am. I could have never pulled the trigger in those 3 days. I could have never killed a bird. And I guarantee you, I would have had just as an amazing of a time because of the journey that I got to have to be there. From flying into a blizzard in Arkansas, getting a car, beating the blizzard. I hit that dirt road. I got off pavement. My life was complete. I actually truly have goosebumps right now. And one of the saddest things was leaving duck camp. It's not about killing. It's never about killing. Duck hunting's never been about it. And I learned this from you and Dennis, from y'all's podcast, because I didn't grow up waterfowl hunting. I grew up small mountain turkey hunting. I grew up a lot of whitetail. Killing has never been what it's about. And it's the same thing about paintball with Ryan. My journey, my memories, the things I get to take to my grave are the key points in life. And I think a lot of people on social media, the influencers, the guide outfitters that are more influencer side, I think a lot of those people miss the big picture. I don't want to say everyone because that's not fair. But I think the memories that we get to create with the people we're around, even if I go pay a guide service, fishing, hunting, whatever it may be, if I don't catch a fish, if I don't shoot a duck, if I don't kill an elk, not a big deal. The money was worth it because I got to enjoy the journey. I got to create those memories, and I think a lot of people miss that scope of what being outdoors is about. You're blessed to be out there, and like I honestly can tell you, like I will take it to my grave. Arkansas was the most memorable trip. It would have been. It's more memorable that we didn't shoot limits every day. It's not about that to me, and it never will be, because God bless me with being there. In my gosh, your duck camp has the most beautiful people in this world.
Some good folks. And I can't thank you enough for those kind words, Hal. I got to say, you wouldn't have been there if I didn't know you get it. You know, and
Amen.
even in those,
Yes,
even when you take somebody that understands that, the pressure on you to try and show them a good time and find success, you know, and you said, even if we didn't pull the trigger, I'm like, we barely pulled the trigger. I mean, it was slow while you were there, but seeing the snowfall, getting to work a couple mallards in woods covered in snow and knee deep water is I'm with you. It is a blessing.
Blessing.
And
dude, the first morning, it started off rambunctious. That first morning, we got into his boat. So they got a boat dock, Ryan. They got a boat dock on the river, and it's an actual river, right? It's flowing, it's moving. It's not like right off of a river. It's truly on a flowing river. This guy, it's snowing. I mean, when I say it's snowing, it's dumping. It's like a Colorado blizzard right now. This guy rolls up and smacks the dock. We're in the boat loading gear. Like, this guy smokes it. And so, Ryan, to give you an idea, everyone runs these boats and they have lights on them because they're running early morning, like 2:30, 3 a.m. This guy hits their dock. Pedro's the camera guy. Phenomenal. He's the guy that shot all the footage, right? Smokes this dock. And he idles out like fucking like pinballs off the dock. And he says, I can't see fucking shit. And just takes off. Didn't say, hey, is your dock okay? Like, I'm sorry. And Billy's in the back, and he has this loud out, like it's a mud motor. It's like a big lawnmower that powers a drive with a prop so they can run in essentially no water because it's not water cooled. And it's loud, right? That motor's loud. Billy's like, what'd he say? And we told him, and we all just started laughing. Like, those are the memories that you take to the grave and that you're blessed to have. Like, it's the stupidest thing. And Billy, we're like, Billy, do we need to check the dock? He's like, no, we got to go hunting. We'll check it when we come back. It don't matter. And we took off. Like, that's what being outdoors about. It doesn't matter if you go camping. It doesn't matter if you're traveling to a national park with friends. It doesn't matter if you're hunting or fishing. It's all the same concept. And I think a lot of people miss that mark. And I know, Billy, I know the pressure you felt, because could you imagine poor old me, just some nobody duck hunter that invited y'all to come hunt with us, and y'all came up, and those first 2 days were rougher than all get out? Like, could you imagine? Like, I've got Dr. Duck and the fowl hunter with me. I'm sweating bricks. I was sweating, pardon my language, I was sweating like a whore in church. I felt, And I knew y'all felt the same as I did that last day, because last day we had a decent hunt.
Yeah.
But it's what it's about. It's not about how many things you get to shoot. It's about the people you're around.
That's right.
But I do want to say to anyone that listens to this, what I would really like to implore all of y'all, because it is for a very good cause. It is a genuine cause. It's a care for all outdoorsmen that do hunt waterfowl. Please go to the Dr. Duck. Is it Dr. Duck Co. or Dr. Duck?
DrDuck.com.
DrDuck.com. And please go sign that petition, because it is a genuine, honest thing that needs to be signed. And you can read about it when you get there. When you click on petition, you can read what it's about. We already talked about it.
It doesn't matter if you duck hunt or don't duck hunt. It's about, supporting people's passion, and when they're passionate about it for the right reasons.
Amen.
It's keeping. Yeah, that's all it's about. So it has nothing to do with if someone does it or not. They can read it, see that it's for a good cause, and try to help out in the small way that they can.
And I'll tell you, Dennis and Billy, these two men wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't a good cause. Because these men...
I appreciate that. I hadn't found anybody, Hal, that, Ryan, you mentioned earlier, we don't have to agree on everything, right? And I know I've just burned people's ears off talking about this thing that are in high places. And I'm not trying to convince them. I'm just trying to figure out their perspective.
Yep.
Yes.
And at the end of the conversation, they all agree. It's, the worst response I've received from a state representative is, yeah, that's probably outdated and should be addressed. Mm-hmm. I mean, it should be. So I appreciate you saying that. It's just a link at the top of our website that says possession.
And I will make sure to get that up on our Instagram. I'll post on our page with a link in there. Yeah, 100%. It's a good cause, and it's a legitimate cause. And it was caused, possession limit, if you don't understand, in the 1920s is when it started, the massive duck hunting killing that happened for market purposes. It was in the 1920s, correct? Roughly.
20s or 40s. I can't remember.
They were going down.
They were going.
Right. They were going out there with punt guns on the boat.
That's right.
If you don't know what a punt gun is, it's like an 8 to 12 foot gun that held so many BBs, and they would just row into the boat. They would row the boat out. It would be boat mounted, and they would just shoot one shot and kill hundreds of ducks, which that's not right. But that ain't what we're doing today. And so that's what this caused, and that's when they started putting a possession limit. And so we still hold that to this day. And like Billy said, the worst response is, yeah, that's probably outdated. We need to get that fixed. So if you have a minute of your day, I'll make sure to get it up on our Instagram page, and we'll go ahead and so you can just hit that link. I'll copy it. You can tap it. It'll take you right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Hey, same hat as I'm wearing. Same team, brother. But Billy, we got you an hour in. I brought you on because I want to talk about you. You were such an inspiration for me. You and Dennis have given me extensive knowledge on hunting, and I gain all my success to y'all because I gathered all my knowledge from you guys. And then what you did is just monumental for me because you've created such a fire in my heart. And you also led me to wanting to do a podcast, which I got to do with one of my best friends, Ryan here. And I was telling Ryan earlier, you were always interviewing people. And I don't care what that other guy says. You do such a good job interviewing people. I've listened.
Thank you, bud.
What's that?
I said, thank you, bud.
Yeah, brother. From the beginning to the last podcast, I listened to all of y'all stuff. I've listened to every single one of them. You do such a good job with storytelling and bringing the best interview out, and just you you do that good job. You inspired me to want to start a podcast where I could bring on people that deserve to have their story told. Like like and I got to learn even more about that at duck camp, sitting in Colorado, in Arkansas, you know, and you were just such an inspiration. And that's why I asked you to be on this podcast, because you were just an outstanding human that just, I'm going to give you your flowers right now.
He's got so many flowers to go around.
Only for the people that matter and that deserve
I
it. Get out of here, Ryan.
Well,
but
I don't know if I deserve all them kind words, Hal, but I certainly appreciate it. And I think it falls back to, like Ryan was talking earlier, we're just sharing conversation.
Yep.
Amen to that. So,
but I think the Hal's point would be that, he feels that probably not enough people know your story. You've gotten a lot of other people's stories out. So I think we did want to, like, our podcast is more generalized around just having a talk with friends, like seeing where the conversation flows. But I think we would like to, get a brief synopsis of your journey getting here. Like, why duck hunting? Why was it like a family thing? How did that, grow, and how did that mold your life and what it was? And really from there, just like any cool stories, like what was your favorite hunt, things like that. Like I would like to get to know you more, and I'm sure all of our listeners would also like to hear some more personalized touches on that over just hearing me and Hal talk for another couple hours every week.
I appreciate that, Ryan. I did not grow up duck hunting. I lost my dad at an early age, but not before he was able to share the woods with me. Unfortunately, my dad was a really terrible outdoorsman. He loved to squirrel hunt, and we would just, our squirrel hunts pretty much consisted of us walking and watching squirrels for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. But I did learn a lot about the outdoors, and
while spending quality time with your dad. So that's
exactly right. And I would have never known that by the time I was 10 or 11, I would lose him, and how valuable that time was. After losing him, my family, we lived with friends. I had a sister. We lived with friends and other people, and we ended up in East Texas when I started high school. And I was the kind of guys on my own by the time I was 15. Lived a pretty rough teenage life, and ended up getting married, having kids pretty early. By the time I was 21, and right around that same time, I had a mutual friend that he said, "Hey, didn't you used to hunt a lot?" And yes. He said, "I got a buddy who it's all he does, but he wants to get into duck hunting. Do you know anything about duck hunting?" I said, "I don't know anything about duck hunting." And I grew up in Arkansas.
Yeah.
We just spent all our time squirrel hunting. And we hunted deer too, but mostly squirrel. And he said, "Well, I'm going to introduce you to this guy." And that was Dennis. And that was 30 something years ago. And we kind of figured it out. And we took a lot of licks trying to figure it out. We didn't have anybody in our family. We didn't have any other friends that knew anything about it. His granddad, we walked in everywhere you could walk in to hunt. So we figured out this would be a lot easier if we could get a boat. His wife's grandfather had an old V bottom with a little, I don't know, may have been a 9-horse. We got our hands on, and that's what we started in. And we grinded it. Public land. We're both very poor. The reason we did hunt so much growing up, I mean, we lived off the land. We didn't have much money. And when I was married, that's kind of some of the same thing I wanted to instill in my kids. So it worked out good. We started filling the freezer. Finally, it took us several years to figure out how it all worked. And at first you're thinking, well, I just got to learn to blow a duck call. Well, you could be the best duck caller on the planet. If you ain't in where the ducks want to be, that duck call ain't helping you. So, we got to figure out where ducks are going to be. Well, then there's a lot of other people who are trying to figure out where the ducks are going to be too. And, figuring out the weather, figuring out just having general knowledge of the areas and what you're looking for. And it took years for that. And by, it was probably 2000, it was right around the time Instagram started. We started finding some incredible success. And I attribute it all to Dennis. I had 2 full-time jobs trying to raise kids, and he'd put in all the time finding the ducks, making sure we got on the ducks, and a lot of time.
And I love hearing that story because to me, like, passion sometimes all you need. Like, the desire for something's all you need. You don't always need all the information. You don't need something tailor fit to you. You don't need someone to explain everything to you, because if you truly care about doing something, you'll find ways that work. It might not be the right way, but it's a way that works for you. And then you learn a little bit that way and keep learning because you truly care about it. You're not looking for the quick fix. And in that, you make a lot of mistakes and you do a lot of right things, but that's what builds your knowledge. It builds a strong foundation for your knowledge because it comes from a spot of like truly caring. And that, doesn't just involve hunting. That's in every aspect of life. So when you can put the energy, time, and effort into it, that's what makes success in anything that you do. And you give, a lot of credit to Dennis, and I don't know him, but I'm sure a lot of it's that. But the truth of the matter is when you're a team like that, it takes everyone, because what you were able to give him allowed him to have the motivation to continue to go, and what he's gave it to you. It's a sharing of knowledge, it's a sharing of information, but more than anything, it's a sharing of passion that allows you to continue in it and succeed in it. And then to hear that, you take advantage of, when, Instagram's coming around, right when you're starting to be successful, it seems like you jumped in podcasting 10 years ago, right before it spiked. It seems like you're able to see opportunities present themselves and be willing to take the leap to jump on board with that ahead of the curve, not to get in when it's watered down, but to get in when it truly matters and allow people to share your journey with you. And that's special to me because like I said, it's something that's so cross compatible with every aspect of life that it's important. And it's important for people to realize it's not always right time, right place. It's effort, it's energy mixed with that, right? Like if you were born in a different situation, well off, didn't lose your dad, weren't involved in an outdoorsman country, it's like your environment around you molds you into who you are, but who you are inside is what is always going to come through in whatever avenue you do.
I appreciate that perspective. I would agree. And we talked earlier about jumping on making and look, nothing against these guys. If they recognize crane hunting in West Texas is doing great and they want to make a living out there, make some money, and they jump in and they figure out a good way to do it, that's great. Dealing with Dennis when this filming stuff first started, we ran as fast as we could away from it.
Yeah.
We didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
The Instagram thing, yes, I had I was in marketing.
Yep.
That's where my background is too. I don't really use it.
Right? I don't know.
I have a marketing degree, and it is cross compatible a lot of ways. But
it is. But Dennis was really bad about losing his phone. We didn't dare take a camera out with us. So you've got all these great memories and these great hunts that are starting to happen. What are you doing? Yeah. So we figured out we could take a picture with our phone and just put it on Instagram. And next time he lost his phone, guess what? he just loads up Instagram and all his pictures are still there. So we started the Dr. Duck account for him. I was the guy posting to it. I'd make him do stupid pictures with ducks, and we had guys start saying, "Look, what you guys are doing is really Ben Potter in California stayed on us. Great, he's a fine man, and just wore us. They were just wearing us out, and we just want to kill ducks.
Yeah,
we just want to take our kids out in the woods. We ain't interested in filming anything." And finally, we gave in, and it, seeing that first film, it was really neat to see that story come together. He did such a great job doing that, and kind of to your point, it led to some opportunities, and we fought that. But then we come to the conclusion: every outdoor show that you've watched growing up, they were all on private land.
Yeah.
Guys who were able to rest properties, manage those properties, kill ducks, and here us little public land guys are sitting at home watching these guys just beat the britches off of these birds week in and week out. We thought, kind of gets back to that impact thing. What if we could represent the poor public land guy we are?
Yeah.
And we could show people that, you know what? You can kill ducks.
Yeah.
Without all this,
the barriers to entry aren't that great. Like, you can still be the best at what you do with whatever terms you're given.
And that kind of lit a fire, honestly. And we take a lot of licks. Gets back to that sharing information thing. And even though personally, I don't think the information we share is not like some people think it is. I mean,
no.
You got
but something can be so self-evident to you and still be kind of eye-opening to someone else. So it is.
Yeah. So,
but he's not like giving locations. No. Drop like sharing pins to the world.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
And that's what now. And how it boils down now to selfishness, and it's people who. Look, I can't have a good opportunity hunting ducks if I got 10 other people in my area I got to worry about. And they went out and watched your video, and here they are, and to us, that's always been kind of a selfish perspective. Mm-hmm. If I run into Hal tomorrow morning in a spot that I wanted to hunt, I ain't, look, the odds of Hal beating me to the spot, sorry, Hal. And not so much me, but Dennis. But if you do, and I've watched this guy, you hear so many horror stories.
Yep.
Kids and people being run off of public land because somebody else wanted to hunt it. I have watched Dennis through the years. We get to a spot. If somebody else is there, he going to shake their hand and get on down the road. And I'm not talking around the corner down the road. I'm talking he's going to get down the road.
Yeah.
It's just it's part of the game we play. That is public land. And when you get back to these guys trying to redefine what that quality experience is, the quality experience is having the opportunity and sharing, like I was talking about, Ryan, like you were talking about, sharing that time with others in the outdoors. And that's driven it, just to lit that fire under Dennis and I, that we want the common outdoorsman to be represented on these videos, not some set up deal, and
it's, and I got to see that when I was in Arkansas with you. Hey, Saoirse.
Yeah, it's really just being relatable and allowing and making the access seem easier, because it is, if you want it to be.
That's right.
And we beat in Arkansas day 2, right? We had a tough day, day 1. One bird was shot in the hole. Sorry, my hunting dog decided she wants loving. Day 1, we shot one bird in the hole. Old Josh Helms shot her out under me. That's okay, though.
I was trying to think about it, and then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember.
Yep. Josh rolled it up. That's okay. Like I said, what do we have? Like 10 people in that hole that morning.
Yeah.
The banter, the camaraderie, the joy we were all sharing. That's what it's about. I didn't give a crap that he shot that bird. I'm glad someone shot a bird. I was like, heck yeah, we got one. I was like, because
he still feels bad about that though.
That's okay.
Everybody was like, okay. Hal, kill that duck. Hal, kill that duck. And Josh, boom.
Sometimes he just felt it. You can't stop that sometimes.
Hey, you can't let it get away when it's tough. I'm just saying,
instinct,
some high stakes. It's high stakes. Got to roll with it. Day 2, you, Dakota, Jake, Isaac, Pedro, me, and you. Dakota, because he had an outboard, he ran the hole. He got down there quicker. Day 2, he got first in the hole that morning, and that father-son that was in that boat came up and said, "We're hunting the hole, regardless if y'all are there." I won't ever forget your reaction. And this just is a report to who you are as a person. You said, yeah, come on in. And Dakota too. Dakota and Jake and Isaac in that boat. It's the party that it's my favorite saying, the company I keep, right? It's a reflection on you. Y'all all had the same mentality. Y'all all had the same mentality of, that's fine. We got a hard 6 in this hole, but yeah, please come hunt with us. We're happy to have you. We had conversations with those people. We had a good time with those people. And no offense, I can't blow a duck call real good. And I knew that, regardless, I'll stay off that topic. But we had a good time in that hole. You nailed Jake with that dang snowball. I mean, square the beacon.
Yeah. I just watched that video.
Yeah. And I mean, Jake's like, not cool, Billy. And you and I are just dying laughing. We are just having the time of our life. And they're 20 feet over. That father-son, they were over there about another 30 feet, 40 feet across in that hole. But that just represents the company you keep and who you are. You will not turn somebody down.
Yeah.
Even if you beat them to a hole outright and they're saying, we coming whether you're here or not, you have every right to tell someone to piss off. I'm here first. But that's not who you are. That's not the company you keep either. And I think that is few and far between this day. Because if I was, go ahead.
I think, again, I appreciate your kind words, Hal, but we're supposed to live life in that manner, right? I mean, I want to treat people like I would like to be treated. And I do think there are a lot of people out there like that. And that's what we want to do with this video stuff is we just want to share that consistent commitment to the entire journey, right? Not just those little moments that a lot of people tend to get buried up in and carried away in, right?
I mean, to me, it definitely speaks to your character, regardless of how you want to downplay and say that's how you're supposed to be, because that's what character is. It is how you're supposed to be, but it's very easy to not be that as well. But more than that, to me, it's like when people let negativity affect them, it just spreads and it snowballs. So like maybe you weren't the most stoked about those two people saying, "Oh, we're gonna still come and hunt with you," and there it's like, "Oh, this hole's already overcrowded. It is what it is." You can always keep thinking about that and keep being mad about that and letting that affect your day. Or that's already happened.
That's right.
Welcome to join and see what good can come out of the situation. Maybe a good conversation here or whatever. Right. Maybe them being there just changes the way you guys are talking slightly. And then you have a whole new conversation or learn something about a friend you never learned about or do something slightly different. But if you dwell on the negativity of something, you're never going to see all the positivity going around you, right? Like if you let a small negative become a big problem, when it doesn't have to be. That's crazy, because it's like,
Yep.
brush those things off and just see where it takes you, and make
Have a good time.
make the best of the situation. And not only
Yeah.
will that affect you personally, but it affects everyone around you, right? If one of you would have been negative in that situation, now all of you have a worse day. But the first person that can be positive and not worry about it, that brings everyone up and allows everyone to have a better day with each other.
And, it's this hat I'm wearing. Billy put out, it was a podcast release. Same team 2 year or 1 year ago. The hat you released, podcast.
I think it was a couple
2
years
years. I think so too. It's from the book of Mark. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. That Billy made this hat that I'm wearing right now. It says on top of it, same team.
Yeah, but I didn't come up with that. I'm just sharing it. So
you'd have to be a lot older than he made you out to be at the beginning of the show.
I'm just sharing.
You're looking good, Billy. But it's not just a motto to you. It's how you live your life. And why I wanted to have you here is because you truly live by the word of God. You truly live day to day. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You say, I've seen it firsthand in the duck hole.
Well,
I've seen it outside of the duck hole. Like, it's a beautiful and magnificent thing. And I think a lot of people can take away from that. And that's, like I said, that's why I wanted to have you here.
I appreciate that. I fall as short or shorter than most everyone else does. We all fall short, and that's the great thing about believing. That's right. That's the great thing about believing what we believe, or actually knowing that despite our shortcomings, there's still an opportunity for us to have an eternal life. So,
amen.
I appreciate the kind words, but shoot, man, it's all we can do is try, right?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's all we can do is try. And that's all we're called upon to do is try.
I guess my point was that with a little bit of effort, that little bit of trying, it becomes easier and easier, and your life becomes happier in general, and you become a more optimistic person and more joyful person. It's when you let the bad things seep into you and affect you is when everyone struggles the most.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And that's, that's that fire that was lit under us to continue doing this video stuff. We went from one video a year to 10 to 20 videos a year. And we're duck hunting. Yeah, we're sharing public land. But, if we can share more of the journey that we're talking about, what opportunities to have impact on others may we, be able to take advantage of moving forward. So just want to share that with everyone we can, and as long as we can. We ain't spring chickens no more, Hal. This is hard work.
Man, know what? I understand, but you were don't BS me. You were up before me. You were ready to go. I remember we were all in the bunk beds in duck camp, and you were up before everybody else, and you were giving us just as hard of a time. You're like, I'm twice your age, but you're like, I'm older than y'all, and I'm up before y'all. Get your butt up. We're going duck hunting. It's like, man, you still got it, but that's the passion, and that's your fire. And it's like, man, like,
that is passion and heart, but
oh, dude,
man, I honestly believe when you're blessed with the opportunity to do something that you love, no matter how strenuous or how hard it is, it keeps you young. Because your heart is full. It keeps you happy. You can be bogged down with stress. If it's good stress, that keeps you young. It's the bad stress that that ages you, right? So it's like you're able to do something that you grew up, you spent your life doing, but that you find like pure joy out of, and that's gonna always keep you younger than if you quit doing it.
Amen to that. Yeah. I hope you're
and
right.
I'm only saying that as a very old athlete. I'm in my 23rd year of playing professional paintball, traveling around the world doing it. So I just turned 40 this year. So for an athlete, that's old, but like I feel, young at heart, young in body, because it's like, this is another thing. Your body, is resilient to whatever you put it through. And as soon as you stop putting it through, it quits being able to handle it. Right. So if you stay up, keep doing that, and your mind still has the same, desire to put in the effort to do it, then your heart will stay young and you'll stay young too, because you're just getting filled with, good endorphins, good energy.
Joy is a
Yeah.
powerful drug, man.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Good stuff.
Billy, so I wanted to talk about your success, because I know a lot of paintballers, your success does cross over, into what these young athletes are trying to do, because it's very similar in all aspects. It's just a different occupation. It's the drive that you've had, and I kind of wanted to touch on that. Like like you said, y'all were some broke kids trying to figure it out, right? But you made the journey happen. Like, and I want all of our viewers to be able to understand that success is formulated because of your passion.
Yeah, your will.
Yes, exactly, Ryan. So I mean, y'all, and I know you're going to disagree with me, and that's fine. Anyone that follows any kind of social media for waterfowl, y'all are some of the most successful, likable waterfowl hunters, household name in the modern age, and conservationists. Now you've had the opportunity to go on boards and be a part of that growth. And I kind of wanted to touch on that because I think it's very important, because people always ask us as Houston Heat Paintball, what are you doing to grow the sport? And it's very similar into what you're doing to grow the waterfowl. Like it's very similar into your path. It's just a different path, So I kind of wanted to touch on that. You run the podcast for Dr. Duck. Like you said, you started that up before podcast was really podcast, right? Like when it was first in its evolution. Y'all have a professional cameraman with y'all year round. And then not only that, but you run the drduck.com's website. Like you package every order. And I just wanted to kind of tap into that, because y'all are very successful, and I think it's important to recognize that success. So
you're right. I would disagree. I don't know. Yes, we do. I do those things, and you're right. And I think Ryan hit on that earlier, that it's just life in general, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing. And I think I guess it's Colossians. It's say I'm really bad at remembering things at my age, but it talks about doing things for Christ rather. I I really think it boils down to a mindset. Um, what do you want to do? You talk about getting up early. What do you want to do when you get up tomorrow? I mean that's it. And when you know how many kids you talk to, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with that marketing degree, Ryan? I mean, you know what? I don't know, or I'm going to figure it out. When you do figure it out, when you know.
And I talk a lot about want versus need. There's a difference between wanting something and needing it.
That's That's really good. And I can remember the very specific time when you talk about how applying this, whether it's paintball or duck hunting, when I was in marketing, I had the opportunity to do something I didn't love to do, that I knew nothing about. But I knew that if I accepted that challenge to learn something new for the company that I worked with, that I would have a greater opportunity to have an impact on more people. Mm-hmm. And when I talk about this, that's where the journey thing came from, by the way. How I don't know that I've ever shared that with you. I have talked about it before, but it's from what I did for a living for so many years, and is kind of a deal with my boss. You can get so focused. So when you do figure out where you want to go, you can get so focused on your destination. Then what happens when you get there? Versus
the purpose of it.
Right. All this. So you're here and you think, well, I figured out where I want to be. Here's where you want to be. There's 2 marks, right? Yeah. When you include the journey and everything that takes place, that's all. That's it. That's it. It's everything, really.
Yeah, that's why I like to not think of like an end mark. I like to think of just like a direction to head towards. Just like an arrow. It never has to end. It's not that you should never meet your goals. You should just know that you're working towards something that you really care about.
And I can't talk to. I have paintball. You guys are killer. And I had a buddy of mine that wanted to be like that, and he had some property, and we would set up paintball courses and emulate what we see back then. This is a long time. I don't know how long. I mean,
so I started in '97 when I was 12, doing it the same way. Building little fields and out of my friends' woods behind, just playing with that, and it grew into a passion. And I didn't have a roadmap of success on how it should work out, but I love doing it, and I kept finding ways to continue to do it throughout my ages.
Well, this was a buddy of mine who was also an outdoorsman.
Yeah,
and he talked me into it. And these guys would come out wearing jackets and pants, and I would show up in shorts and a cut-off sleeve shirt.
Yeah,
and they're all like, "You're gonna get, dude. You have no idea what you're doing." I'm like, "Bro, you got to hit me first."
Yeah, I'll be all right.
And I was young, right? I was quick-footed.
Yeah,
and I grew up in the outdoors, so there was a little strategy advantage I had over a lot of these guys. I'll never forget the first day I ever played. Everything like goes into slow motion. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And I got this guy.
They kind of call it like the flow state, because your adrenaline's pumping so much that you can just see things so clearly. Your senses are working overtime, basically.
Yeah.
And I turn the corner. I'm laying it down, Jack. Yeah. I am on fire. And these guys are like, "What? This guy's never played?" And I probably was older than several of them already at that time. But
what year was this?
I come around that corner and I could see the line of his shots, the paintball, and I like lay back and squeeze one off around the corner. But the last pellet, when I lay back like that, my shorts raise up, and that his last pellet hits me on the inside of the thigh. Paintball.
Oh yeah.
And I know I probably screamed like a girl.
Yeah, there's a couple spots that hurt, the nether regions, the back of the head.
Back then, the paint wasn't soft neither.
No, it just
no. I don't think half those paintballs would break when they hit you.
I mean, when you're playing in the woods like that, kind of like rogue paintball, I'm sure people aren't chrono at the right speed. Anything,
No.
you're just having a good time. It's like I grew up the same way, like around the woods a lot before I ever knew about paintball. Like I'm a little kid playing BB gun wars in the woods,
right?
Or, run around. It's all the same, and it's the mentality behind it. Like you were successful and probably good there because you weren't afraid of the situation. You were excited about it. You approached it head on without that fear. You let your reactions do it. You let all your senses and your knowledge of the woods, but like your athleticism, all you let nothing hamper your ability to be good.
Well,
I wouldn't go as far as saying good.
No, but I'm saying good for the situation, right? You don't have to be great at paintball, but you can be good at the situation if it's your first time playing and you're already better or, competitive with the people that have brought you on.
You guys are killer, though. I mean, it's impressive to watch.
It's like anything, time and effort, and passion. It
that's right. That's where we're getting to. Like
the connecting road.
That's right. When you hit that road and you're thinking, this is good and I can do some good things and I can have some positive impact on others. I enjoy this and that's where you need to be. It's that fire that you're talking about. And look, really, I think there are people that fall into that category a lot that you mentioned earlier, how that maybe they're doing it for different reasons, right? I believe wholeheartedly that Dennis and I do this for the right reason.
100%.
But if it's the right reason for you, it is the right reason. And
that's a good point.
And in the long run, like the more people you can touch and affect, the better that is. But that's kind of irrelevant to the point of like, do the right reason for you first, and then all the rest will come.
And if you do it the right way, during that path, if you listen to this, whether you're a paintballer, a duck hunter, or just starting your first job and realizing, like you said, that destination may change. This is where I am right now. I'm going to enjoy this path and I'm going to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And if, like you said, if you get into that mindset, then you are doing it for the right reason at that time. And it's going to enable you to take advantage of opportunities, I think.
Yeah. I will say something about you, Billy.
Uh-oh.
No, it's always good about you. I have no, it's great.
I think Ryan went to get another energy drink. I think he's on number 2. He's done with number 2.
Oh, he's drinking Guinness. He probably had to use the restroom.
Oh.
I'm drinking Shiner over here. He's hounding the Guinness. But something I will say about you, you were humble but confident. But that creates major success in the things you want out of life. You need to be a humble person, but you need to be confident in what you're doing. It's like when you showed up to play paintball, you're like, you got to shoot me first.
Yeah.
That's not you being cocky. That's you being confident. There's a difference. And I think the big things in life people lack, especially with this day and age, social media and how it's skewed, how there'll be some players in the paintball community that don't show them getting bunkered or shot out. They only post the highlight reels, right? The big flamboyant, like I did this, right? You have those people in duck hunting, right? You have those people that are like, we don't have bad days. We kill limits. Look at these birds. It's legitimately, right?
Yeah.
And those people are the people that hunt private or only stockpile photos of them having good days. They don't show the bad. There's a humble and confidence is a beautiful thing. And if you pair both of those mindsets together, you can be a very successful person. And, I think that's where paintball and duck hunting are very similar. You have those people in paintball that show the highlights of the highlight reels. They don't show them getting bunkered. They don't show them getting run down the field and getting diced up. That's part of the game.
And it is also natural for people to show the best of something, right? But that's why social media, it's important to realize it's just a snapshot. It's just a picture. It's to help you remember a story, right? It's because like storytellers are what really matter to me still, being able to tell those stories. And for a long time, I thought like, if I put stories out there, like it kind of ruin the history of storytelling because stories adapt and change as it happens. But if you don't look at it that way and you just look at it as like an aid to help you remember certain aspects of it and don't lose all the other aspects that are around it, it can be a great aid to that too. But when you look at other people's, highlight reels, realize it's a highlight reel. It's not a full representation of what brought them to that point.
Yeah.
It's a great perspective.
So I run the Houston Heat paintball page. This is the team Ryan plays for. This is who all my buddies play for. What's up?
He's done a great job at it too. I think last year we only posted one time, and this year we're probably already at like a 90 to 100 posts. So he's been doing a phenomenal job at it.
Well, I appreciate it, but it's hard. Sorry, my Saoirse is on one. The wife just got home. Pardon that. But that's part of it. That's what you owe to the people that love you and that are fans. You have downfalls, and then you have the point when you're on a high rise, and that's paintball, hunting, fishing. It's
life.
Work, it's life.
Yeah.
You have those ebbs and flows, but you got to have the humility to show those. Do you know how tough it is for me to show y'all when Cody and like Cody and what was it? It was La Papa and someone else in the back center, and they got ran down. I think it was Mishka.
It was.
It was Cody and Mishka. Those are two players on the team, Billy. They got ran down. They got diced up. That's part of the game. It's great footage.
Not only is that part of the game, but like they didn't do it in a loss. That was a moment that killed more time that allowed us to win the game because it put us in a better situation moving forward. It's all these little things. Like I'm more inclined to show my peaks and the good things too. But the more I think about what I like to follow and what I actually relate to is the emotional roller coaster that success is, because there's failure in it, there's success in it, but it's learning little things from all of that and seeing people's true emotional reactions to those moments that helps me learn who someone is and what makes me more likely to be interested in a story or follow someone or really relate to their journey.
It's not a facade, right? It's not being faked. It's who you genuinely are. And I think that this day and age with social media, people have a hard time showing themselves failing.
I would agree with that.
Because they just want the clout. They want the fame. They want the glory. Like, it's not what it's about. Life is a journey. Life is about failure. And then, my dad told me the best advice I think I had ever said. Rock bottom isn't ever a point. It's not a certain point. It's a decision an individual will make to change to greatness. And I think that is fantastic advice, but people are afraid to show those steps to your lows. They just want to show the high. And I think whether it's duck hunting or it's paintball, I think people have a hard time showing that.
Yeah, it's some of that, and also how do you show some of it, right? Because it's hard to show true emotion. Do you have the media coverage of it? Like when you have a cameraman showing things, like showing failures, sometimes like a time lapse where success is a distinct moment.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
Yeah, for sure. So, Billy, let's get back into it. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I want to be respectful of your time. I do want to touch on kind of, do you have any kind of advice for people that are listening on like how to word this? how to chase their passion, because you're a great representation of chasing your dreams and your passion.
Thank you for that. That's Hal, that's a great question. And kind of way you referenced it earlier about people jumping on or into a situation because they see an opportunity maybe to, there's a lot of guys who I see duck hunting now, and I'll get into a conversation with them because I love people genuinely and I want to have those conversations. And I know guys that are providing instructional documentation to duck hunters. And then you get to talking to them and they've been duck hunting 5 years.
Yeah.
Or I ain't mad at you, right?
Yeah.
But it gets back to that doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that, and I'm always hesitant to give advice, but because everybody has it.
Yeah.
But as you're moving down that path, I do believe that doing things the right way all the time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to pave the way for you.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, if you're not doing it the right way, it's going to bite you somehow, some way, at some point. We try very hard to always go about the right manner of doing things, and there are still people that are going to lay licks, right? It's just going to happen. But during that journey, doing things the right way, and I think the biggest part of that for me is your interaction, engagement with other people. If I run into these guys who only have a couple years experience who are trying to do something in our industry and I'm a butthole to them, what does that say about me?
Yeah.
I get a lot of messages through social media. I respond to all of those messages.
Yes, you do.
And I want to. Am I trying? Yeah, and I think that gets it. What effort are you putting forward to do things the right way and making sure that you're going to come in contact with so many people, and you never know which of those people might create an opportunity for you. But even more than that, if you handle those the wrong way, I do think that would hurt anybody in the long run. So, I would just say it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like you said, life in general, just being grateful for the interactions and the opportunities you have to engage people and have impact.
Yeah.
Handling that the right way, going about your business the right way, trying to. We always, again, we all fall short. But if you can consistently do that and consistently put others, not necessarily first, but treat them like you want to be treated.
Yep.
And navigate your paths like that, I really believe it goes a long way.
It does. And that's what touches people. And if you can touch like one person, like truly, sometimes that's better than like reaching 100,000 people and just having them hear you, but like actually having like an impact on a couple lives is important. So it's important to be your true self and honest to your values and your morals in every interaction, because you never know how it's going to affect the people that are around you.
You can change one person's life and it could change the world. That's how it should be looked at.
Good or bad.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
It's up to you, though. It is up to you. Dude, Billy, phenomenal.
I mean, you could keep them as brief as possible, but like I said, I've only known you now for an hour and 48 minutes. They're 2 duck hunting stories. Like I like hearing you talk. I like hearing your stories so far, but 2 that I would like to hear about. I would like to hear as short as long as you want to make it, but I would like to hear about like your first duck hunt that you remember, like, and then also if there was one that was your favorite, like one that you could relive again, like what are those 2?
My first duck hunt. So Dennis might correct me on this. Like I said, I don't remember too good, but
that's the cool thing about stories. They don't have to be by the letter correct. They have to be by the feeling correct, right? So like if this is what you remember, like that is that is your
That's
truth.
the story.
It's what you got out of it.
Dennis had a piece of property that he kept cows. Him and his brother had some cows on. And this was probably, there were a couple right in that timeline, that first season probably, and that may have been, I'm trying to weed through this in my head. I'm gonna use my first public land hunt because I can remember that pretty good.
Okay.
We would do, this is the first one we ever took with a boat. I told you we had all the walk-in stuff.
Yeah.
We had access. People ask for permission to hunt people's property. We would ask for permission to access public land in an area that was maybe somebody else didn't have access to get to. It was always this drive to public, right? And we got our first boat. Dennis's wife's granddad's, that V-bottom I told you about.
Yeah.
And we got it running. And Dennis, I am not that guy. If you need help on your vehicle this weekend, I ain't got to worry about getting them phone calls. I can come have an adult beverage and offer my supervisory skills while you navigate that bad boy. And Dennis says he's that guy, but he is definitely not that guy. So usually one of your buddies has that skill set. We do not. We were able to get this motor running.
Yeah.
And we're in the boat, and I'm not going to name the lake.
No. Yeah.
There's a lake that was pretty popular. It was fairly new at the time.
Yeah.
And we couldn't wait. It's going to be the best day ever. We've walked in, right? But we've never had a boat to get to where all the good duck spots are. So we get here and we're getting to the boat ramp, and we already have a pretty good feeling of what time we should be there. And that works out good. And we get everything loaded in this little V-bottom, and we're watching all the fancy rigs get out the way. And we feel pretty good about the area we're going to. And we've walked miles to get into similar areas from the back door, and we get to take the boat in today. And we get about halfway across this lake when we're looking at each other, realizing today is probably not the day to be out in Granddad's V-bottom. The weather we're getting whitecaps on this lake. And we're in a little, I couldn't tell you what year this boat was. This boat was old. And we had that little 9-horse, and we're getting whitecaps in the middle of this lake. There's a stump every 3 foot. We're bouncing off these stumps. And by the time we get close, we're not even probably that close. It took us so long to navigate with the wind, the whitecap, and trying to get around the stumps. We'd never been in a boat on this lake before, so we weren't familiar with the boat lanes, where we needed to be. It's shooting light. And about the time shooting light takes place, our motor takes a crap.
Yeah.
And we're still on the big water. It's still whitecap, and the wind's still blowing. And we realize in our limited experience of boating how important it is to always carry a paddle. The old adage, being up a creek without a paddle, right?
Yeah.
And Ryan, you talk about lessons learned. That's the last boat ride I took without a paddle, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So we played pinball off stumps with nothing to push us around except a couple old Remington 870 pump shotguns. And
paddles.
We could not get a handle on it in that wind, and it carried us all the way to the dam of that lake.
Jeez.
And we were able to paddle with those guns to get to the bank beside the dam, and which is where the wind and waves were carrying us. And we walked that boat all the way back to the boat ramp just in time to see some folks pulling out some great hangers of ducks. But I mean, that awesome. We took a lot of licks getting into this thing and learned a lot of lessons. One of my favorite, I've had a lot of, I get asked that question a lot. It's a great question.
And not like that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be your favorite hunt. Doesn't have to be that. But just like if you could like relive a day of hunting, like which was it? Like what it could be because it was like, you know, you learned something on it. Could be because something special happened. It could be for whatever personal reason. Like,
well, I always tell everybody that I have been blessed with a lot of days of field, and I could tell you moments of different hunts.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were even run together, but I could tell you, I could share with you so many favorite moments.
Yeah.
Right. Like Hal was talking about the time we spent, but I would have to say that one of my most memorable it's tough.
No, that is tough. I was just trying to think of how I would answer. And it is hard because you think about, like you said, like little portions and moments of anything. Then there's so many great things that would be easily an acceptable answer. But in your own mind, you're like, well, what would it be? It's not easy. So
I think in light of my oldest son, when he was 10 or 11, probably, I tried to get our kids were always with us from the time they were 5. As soon as we could float them on a decoy bag, we would sparingly, when it was super cold and wet, we would tell them they couldn't go, which versus always taking your kid when it's miserable, it really created a drive in them.
Yeah.
So when we knew it was going to be a less than desirable experience, we would tell the kid he couldn't go. So I had a less than desirable experience taking place in which a lot of times back then, this was early on too, when your kids that age, they don't always have waders that fit.
Yeah.
And we're generally warm. Y'all are well aware of the Texas weather. So, and we're starting a family. You know, we had young kids. We're poor folks. It's hard enough to come up with money to explain to your wife that you need a new pair of waders, and then you're trying to put boys in waders too, and
that they're going to grow out of in a couple months, or
exactly, and that they could only wear for 1 year. So I'm not going to lie, I tended, and I knew a lot of kids, even my age back in the day, that hunted. Even if you were getting wet, you're going in jeans, you know. And that's I wanted my young men to be tough men, and I probably went overboard with that. But long story, sum it up, he was 10-ish, and we found this slough off of a river here in East Texas, and we found a whole bunch of ducks. And he was with us. We weren't in the water. We were making our way around the river to find this beaver pond, and it was just loaded up. We didn't want to get close to him, didn't want to bother him. We just sat and watched him. And he sat with us, and he didn't say much of nothing. We just watched ducks work, and you learn so much listening to those ducks call. And anyway, we get home that night, and we're making the plans on when we're leaving, and he says, what time are you getting me up? You're not going. He says, well, what do you mean I'm not going? I said, well, you don't have waders. The water temp's pretty cold. I'm not sure. We didn't get out in there and really scout. We don't even know where we're really going to hunt. And it's just one of those. It was one of those less than desirable situations to make sure I put him in an enjoyable environment.
Yeah.
And I'm going. I did the work with you today to scout. And finally, you know what? Yeah, okay. So we got up and he went in cowboy boots and coveralls, a pair of blue jeans, and he walked in the entire way. We found a beaver dam that we put him in, and he was so excited to be there. Never complained about anything.
Yep.
Sun come up, and we watched a beautiful sunrise that day. We did not shoot or see a single bird come back into this spot.
Yeah.
And we stuck it out mid-morning. About time I figured, this kid's wet. Hindsight, should have had an extra pair of clothes that he could have slipped on out there.
Yeah.
But we decided to pack it up that day. We didn't do nothing but share time.
Yeah, that's
the best.
Me, him, and Dennis. And Dennis helped me carry that boy out of there. Yeah. He was at the point where he wasn't maneuvering too well. Yeah. He was getting cold. He was wet. 10 years old.
Probably still not complaining.
No, still not complaining. We get him the truck and he goes to sleep. We get him dried off, and I did have clothes in the truck for him.
Yeah.
And we changed his clothes, and he went right to sleep. We went home. I carried him in, and he stayed and slept all night. And he got up the next day, and he said, "Man, that was the best hunt ever."
That's awesome.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Didn't shoot a single bird, and so, and that was. It's one of those proud, minutes that, he gets it. And to get it that early on was a really big deal. So
that's an awesome story to hear for a couple reasons. Like I enjoy stories like that more, but also like it really made me think about a lot of like my earlier memories with my dad, 5 or under. Like I remember going fishing with him a lot. Like I used to hunt and fish with him a lot when I was younger. I grew out of hunting more. So when I got older, I still like shooting guns with him, still went fishing with him. But when I was really young, like didn't matter how cold the water was. He'd be fishing a dam or fishing in a river somewhere. I'd just be fishing a little bit here or there, but just in the water, looking for crawfish or catching snakes and being as cold as possible. What a lot of people would consider miserable. But yeah, you're just there with, the person who probably, cares about you as much as anyone outside of your mom and your family. And you're just having a good time with them and enjoying the situation that you're in and making your best of the situation, right? You don't have to be doing the exact same thing the other person is doing, but you're spending that time with them and creating those memories that, you learn a lot from them too. And you get little life lessons from, but more than anything, you just enjoy it. And, 35, 40 years later, you still can look back fondly upon them.
No doubt about it.
Wholesome. It's
you guys are great. You said we had been here like an hour and 48 minutes. I feel like it was 20 minutes.
Oh, dude, I know. Dude, anytime I get to see your face, it just.
Well, you're going to sit here for too long because, a lot of people don't understand fishing. You brought up fishing, Ryan. I'll end with this story. My dad used to take me, like we talked about, squirrel hunting and walking. That's all we did. We walked so much. It was a blessing when we got to go fishing for me. Because fishing has always been my thing. I love to fish, and I knew I wouldn't have to walk too. Right?
Fishing's just an excuse to be a little bit lazy.
That could be it. We had a morning. My dad, he had come across a used old beat up ski boat that some guy was trying to get rid of, and he wanted to turn into a fishing boat. Anyway, you know how that redneck stuff works, right? So
hell yeah.
We get this boat and we go to this lake, and it's like I want to say it's 40 degrees that morning. It's going to be 50s or 60, but it's a pretty chilly morning. I'll never forget it. I was bundled up pretty good. I was probably, like I said, I lost him at 10 or 11. So I mean, maybe 7 or 8, maybe 9 years old. And we're taking that boat out for its inaugural run, try and catch some fish on this big lake about an hour and a half from home. And he says, "You hold the rope." And even though I was at I remember like as yesterday, he said, "You hold the rope, I'm gonna back the boat in. I'll pull up, park, and come back and get you." And he drops that boat pretty swiftly. And this is all new ground to me, right?
Yeah.
And he pulls up the ramp. Well, when that boat drifts out to the end of that rope, it just pink and popped right out of my hand.
Oh.
So I look up the ramp to holler at my dad, and he's gone to park the truck, and I'm watching this boat we're going out in for the first time drift from the boat ramp. And all I can remember is I had one job.
Yeah.
I had one job, hold the rope. I was a very good swimmer. We spent a lot of time outside, and I didn't even take my shoes off.
No.
I jumped into that lake and swam out there, grabbed the rope, and kicked. I just held onto the rope and kicked until I got. So my dad comes down to the side of the lake, and all I could think about is the whooping I'm finna get. And I crawl out of the water, soaking wet, 40 degrees, but I got the boat.
Yeah.
And I just held the rope up, and he's like, "What happened?" Like, well, you said don't let go of the rope.
Slipped right out.
So he could have hollered or waited or.
Yeah.
So now I had to get the boat.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't know. It's funny. You can, like you said, you remember so much of that stuff, and it's so valuable, those memories.
And that's probably like one of your first memories of like having to be self-sufficient to fix a problem that you did without like needing to involve someone else. And those all carry with you throughout life too.
Well, that's good about creating problems, right?
Yeah.
Like as a kid, probably.
Yes, sir. You got to be a little problematic so you can know the limits.
That's right.
I appreciate you guys letting me hang out today.
I really
you're taking me fishing, Hal. You and your dad.
Dude, yeah, into August, dude. I can't.
It's gonna be a good time.
I'm not gonna lie. Besides the duck hunt in January, like this is the highlight. This is. Oh, dude, this is my highlight.
I can't wait, man. I'm gonna show you how to put them in the boat.
Hey, you show me how that Texas jerk comes along, man. We're gonna wear them out. We're gonna beat up some redfish, some flounder. We're gonna beat them up, dude.
That ain't something I've done a lot of, and I'm really looking forward to sharing the time.
That's funny. For that. Now what I'm thinking about is how nervous Hal's going to be that he has a good day with you. Even though no matter how it turns out, it will be good.
My dad and I guarantee. So my dad, I'll tell you this. My dad was the best domino player until I came along to Billy. I'm going to say this. Y'all can't team up because we got to get a licking in dominoes. If we play 42, I'm picking one of y'all. Like, y'all can't be together.
I like
I'm excited that you're doing it, though. I try and share that with all them young men I share duck camp with. It's the old guys know how to play that game, but dominoes in general, but especially 42, there's a lot of folks that don't know anything about that.
Well, whenever I finally get to meet you in person, I'd like to get a refresher on it because, growing up to me, dominoes was stacking them up and knocking them over. But the one time I was visiting the Dominican and, there it's culturally dominoes is huge. So like
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I have a set that some older Dominicans gave me, like a family of a person I met down there, a paintball player down there, like his grandparents' birthday was there. So we went over to his house and like I played dominoes with him all night. And that's a memory I kind of forgot about until you just brought that up too. But like I really enjoyed my time doing that. I thought it was a really fun game and it's a shame that more people don't know how to do it. But it's really the times you get to spend with people that you wouldn't have normally had those time spending with.
I didn't know that about those folks over there that died.
Yeah, it's I didn't either. And then it's like they all play it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And yeah, I would like a little refresher because that's been probably a decade or so since I've been there and played. But
we'll make it happen.
Yeah,
and now I'm going Dominican on you at the end of August.
Hey, that's right.
I've already received ass whoopings from you, Domino's. I'm good. I want to be on the friendly side of it. But no, August, end of August. My dad and I are just so beyond excited and blessed. We are really looking forward to that time. As always, it's enjoying the journey. And so, yeah, dude.
I'd like to say, like, it's been a pleasure, getting to know you a little bit tonight, and I really do appreciate you taking your time out of your day to have this conversation with us.
Brian, I appreciate you guys kind of stepping out of that comfort zone and doing what you're doing, and it's an honor for me, really. I've enjoyed the conversation a bunch, and I hope we can find a way to share some time. Maybe talk old Hal into bringing you out on duck hunt.
Yeah, I'm down. It's been a while since I've hunted, but I still shoot a lot, so I'll be all
right.
You
ain't gotta coerce me into a hunt.
Yeah, we'll work some schedules out because it would be great to meet you. Yeah.
But cool. I do want to, before we let you off, I know I'm trying to be considerate of your time. I'm sorry we passed 2 hours. Where can our followers find you at? What is the store you run? And where can they watch your stories? Because I will tell all my viewers, Ryan can attest, the storytelling that these guys can do out of a 30-minute video, 20-minute video is just, it feels like you're there. And where can they find you, Billy?
Thank you for that, Hal. Everything's wrapped around that initial poking fun at Dennis name we made up back in when Instagram came out. So Dr. Duck, everything's wrapped around the Dr. Duck brand. We have a Dr. Duck YouTube channel. We have the Dr. Duck Waterfowl podcast you find on iTunes, Spotify, wherever else, and everything is kind of driven from the drduck.com website. So it's just DRDUCK, drduck.com, and like you, I thank you again for bringing up that possession deal. I'm due to write another blog. I've tried to start writing a little bit. I enjoy sharing stories as well. And I've found that kind of sitting down at least once a month to write a little bit about your experiences can be helpful to others, and trying to do that. And we've actually added some, so Dennis added turkey hunt the last couple of years to our YouTube.
Yep.
And then Reverend Jonathan Porter, who's a wonderful man, who does the inspirational messages with Realtree. We're starting we just started a series with him on our YouTube as well called Beyond the Blind.
Yep.
Where he'll be just kind of incorporating faith and duck hunting all together in short little messages throughout the course of the year. So probably more so during duck season, but just something else on the YouTube that people can hopefully find interesting and maybe even helpful in their journey. So very excited about that. But
and where can they find you personally?
In the woods.
That's
I'm kind of hard.
Public land, right?
You can look out my back window at all the trees.
Oh yeah.
It's in the woods, baby.
I try and stay off the pavement, but I do have an Instagram that I mentioned earlier. I enjoy the messages. I love engaging with people who are interested more in the outdoor industry. And I'm very happy to get back to you if you want to reach out. The Fowl Hunter. I got a Facebook, I got a Twitter, I got a TikTok, but I keep getting banned on TikTok, and Facebook is developed into this huge machine that you got to be a computer nerd to operate. So honestly, I don't get on there very much. Instagram's probably the best place to find me right now.
The Fowl Hunter. Find him on Instagram.
That's it.
Well, Billy, my brother, thank you so much. Such a blessing. Love your story, your life, your passions. I just can't thank you enough for sparing time for us.
Shoot, man, it was a blessing, and likewise to you guys. Thank you again for what you're doing and sharing conversations with others. Like you said, man, you never know who you may have impact on. So appreciate that very much and the opportunity to be here. Thank you for that. You the man.
No, you're the man.
You in some bones for too long, baby.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready. Hey, if I get to see your smiling face, I'm ready for that butt whooping. I'll take it all day.
Well, I can't wait to hear those stories.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope you have a great rest of the night.
You too. Yeah. You too. Both of you.
We'll see you soon.
All right, Hal. How do I get out of this thing?
Yeah, I got